take on the issues of the day with a little logic, with a little reason, and coming to logical conclusions. But in some instances, it seems as though we have abandoned logic and reason for rhetoric. So, looking at specific issues like immigration, where have we lost the ability to debate and come to logical conclusions, and where are we getting it wrong? So I'm going to someone who has been on the front lines. He's a retired ICE supervisory special agent. Victor Avila, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me. Thank you so much.
So as we see now, 25,000 folks that are going to be coming into our country, we've had a different change, completely night and day in presidential ideas, but we still have the same old debate. We're a caring country. We need to open our borders. Wait a minute, let's take a step back. But we're not able to really discuss these things anymore and find reasonable solutions. How has that affected uh, the border? How has it affected our agents, and how is it affecting our country? Lots of stuff to ask there, huh?
It really is, and it really is a big shift just in the last 3 weeks under the new administration. And you're absolutely right. I've always considered myself as a former law enforcement officer, a person that uses logic and common sense on a daily basis. And it always seems right now it has gone out the window because one thing is to disagree with policies that the prior administration had implemented regarding border security and immigration. And another thing is to disregard completely the safety and security of our country and our communities. And they don't seem to be happening hand in hand. They're the new policy, the 26, by the way, I hear it's 26,000 people that will be coming in later this week. We are unable to vet them completely. They're asylum seekers. However, the asylum criteria has not changed in this country, and the laws to seek asylum have been the same for many years. It's the interpretation of that asylum laws that has changed. And so we're going to allow these undocumented individuals to come into the country, seek asylum from within, which is the old catch and release policy that is now back in full effect. And over 90% of these individuals will never be heard from again once they get their court hearing sometime in 2 or 3 years from now. And so there's no logic or reasoning behind that and in regarding our border security. Now, that's immigration. There's the cartels, there's the human trafficking, the human smuggling, the poison that continues to come into our country, the methamphetamine, the fentanyl. We had over 80,000 overdoses last year in this country on that poison that has come to our communities around our country, and there's no outrage there. And so I love that the premise of the show today is because approaching things with what's happening on the ground in a logical sense. And the true experts are our border patrol agents and on the front lines that see it happening every day right now. And let me tell you, it is a crisis down there. It will continue to be because the signal has been sent to Mexico, Central America, and frankly, the rest of the world that the border is wide open. And there's conflicting messages from this administration, the Biden administration, as to how to enforce that, especially when it comes to communication with Mexico, as to how we're going to approach it. There hasn't been a clear, concise message throughout from the administration to the whole Department of Homeland Security as to how to address this. It's kind of like, let's open it up, but wait a minute, let's not open it up because we have people coming in with COVID positive cases, and all of a sudden COVID doesn't matter, but it does matter, and it's just creating more chaos down at our southern border right now.
Yeah, that's something. Looking at logic and reason, we have closed our entire country down. People have lost jobs and businesses. We can't go and see grandma when she's in the hospital, or if your wife is having a baby, you can't be part of it. We have essentially built a wall around ourselves. And yet where it comes to our borders, we're saying, oh, but that's okay. We another side issue of that is the vaccine. People are clamoring to get this vaccine, and yet we had a story here, true story, Victor. A granny in her 80s walked something like 6 miles in the snow to get her vaccine, and yet, excuse me, a lot of folks aren't able to get their vaccines, and the administration is saying, well, we'll just vaccinate everyone coming in. So, it would make sense that if you're trying to achieve herd immunity through vaccines, which, whether that works or not, subject for a different show, uh, you would think that you would make sure that your herd immunity, your health of your nation is set. Then you can more effectively help others. It's the idea of the airplane. Put your mask on first before you put it on someone else.
That's a great analogy. And adding to that is, the travel restrictions. The administration wants to implement travel restrictions into the state of Florida because of what, they're open over there and what the governor has done. Yet there's no restrictions as to coming into our country illegally. It doesn't make any sense.
Logic.
One plus one does not equal two, and no logic. And really, what really worries me is the safety and security, because other people that want to come into our country, and I'm not talking about the economic migrants. We are humanitarians. We do feel for the circumstances that these people are leaving and from their countries. But there comes to a point in our country that in the United States we have to protect our own sovereignty, and we want to help these individuals, but we
Yeah,
do have the
we're
laws that
better
we have to
because of our
enforce.
immigration. I mean, I'm assuming that both you and I have some background that leads us outside of just, born and bred in the United States. My family is Hispanic, Hawaiian, even immigrants from Ireland. So, we all have that. We're better people because of immigration. We're better because of the diversity that brings in. However, we're not doing anyone any favors when we open borders. You had mentioned an issue that's I'm very passionate about, and that's human trafficking. You allow people to just come in undocumented. That kind of means logic. Let's take logic here, that they're not documented. You don't know what's happening to them. You don't know what's going on in their lives. And if they disappear forever as into the dark world of sex trafficking, well,
That's right, Michelle. I'm a subject matter expert in human trafficking. That's what I did most of my investigations on, especially when I was stationed in Mexico. I rescued countless women and children from these horrific situations, and was able to dismantle a lot of organizations that traffic women into the sex slave trade into the United States from Mexico, into Atlanta, New York, Miami, Houston, countless cities around our country. And so that hasn't stopped, by the way. That illegal activity hasn't stopped. The drugs hasn't stopped, and unfortunately, the terrorism aspect of it and the national security that I believe border security is continues to be an issue, because we're not able to vet these individuals, and so the rest of the world takes a look at what's going on and want to exploit those vulnerabilities that we're going through right now at our border. And like, you know what, we're going to gain access into the country using and taking advantage of the situation that is right now.
I think we're losing you just a bit. Just a bit where our connection is failing, but we're going to give Victor Avila a second to let that connection
Future briefs.
reconnect. Coming from the north
Okay.
area of Texas, there where you
Okay.
have some weather issues, definitely. So let's see if we've got you again. I was hoping, Victor, um, you could share with us some of the stories from the front lines there with border agents. We're really not hearing those stories. in the news. We're not seeing it covered or talked about much in the political realm. It's as though it just doesn't exist. We're giving one narrative, and to me, that's pretty illogical. So I thought perhaps you could share with us some of the stories of what's really happening down there.
Absolutely. And just let me know if I'm back, if you could hear me and see me. Okay, good. Okay, so I'll give you two examples. This has just happened in the last week and a half. A human smuggling group was detected down in the Texas border of 81 individuals. And this is the difference that we see this happening every day. However, these individuals, out of the 81, 20 of them were only from Mexico. All others were other than Mexico. We call OTMs, other than Mexicans. And
Ah,
the issue
okay.
here is that they were given 200 pounds of methamphetamine amongst them to smuggle as part of the smuggling venture. Now, in my career, I had never seen this. It would have been the coyote, you smuggle the people and it's a human smuggling venture and that's it. And the drug cartels do the drugs. Well, they're combining those two efforts now and using these immigrants to say, okay, you're going to pay us the $4,000 or $5,000 fee to get you across the border. But on top of that, we're going to make you cross our drugs as well. So that's happening. That's different and that's new. Another thing that's happening, another example I could give you is people that are illegal aliens that are in custody in our local jails are being released. And because of the new Biden administration of his new prioritization or the priority that he set up of people that cannot be touched or deported, the county jails are calling ICE, and the ICE is saying we cannot deport them because of the new mandate by President Biden. And so they're letting these people out into the street. They're illegal aliens that have been in the jail system for a crime they committed. But on top of that, there was an individual that went through that process and was positive for COVID and was released back into the community. This is what's happening that you are absolutely right, is not being communicated in the mainstream media. And these type of instances are happening every day at our border. And it only does is it affects us eventually in our communities.
So let's look at maybe one of the reasons why we've stopped really thinking and using logical arguments. We've gotten to a place where, well, I just feel like this is right. I know you're using a lot of facts, but I just feel like we really want to help these people. They're disadvantaged. We have the most prosperous nation of the world. We should be doing more. Are we really showing compassion though with some of the policies that just elicit open, just come on in? What is that doing to the very people that we think we're helping?
And it's a great point, and it's not really so much about compassion, because the United States has sent billions of dollars to Mexico and Central America. When I served there under the Merida Initiative, we worked and I saw our U.S. tax dollars being implemented in Mexico and Central America with equipment, with training, training the police force. I did a lot of human trafficking conferences and trainings for those type of investigations. And so it just, for me, unfortunately, that money has not resulted in something that was positive for any of those countries. It's actually gotten worse. And I know, like right now, the Biden administration wants to send $4 billion additional in aid. But the problem here, Michelle, is the corruption in these countries. That we know that money is not going to end up, a lot of it, in the hands of the individuals that actually need it. And so we need to assess some of that responsibility back on these governments, back on these governors of these countries, that they need to start taking care of their own people. Now they kind of rely so much on the United States will take them in, that we're seeing a shift from the prior administration saying, listen, we're going to sanction you if you don't help us detain these individuals down in the southern border of Guatemala and Honduras and even Mexico, rather than give you money. And I could tell you that throwing money at it is not going to solve the issue at all.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could have dialogue and find some common sense ways where we can help people within their own nation. And here's one of the reasons. If we just open our borders and we help the people that are coming in, that sounds lovely. But there are millions of people who are still living in horrific situations that they want to get out of that aren't getting help. And all that it's accomplished here is that we feel like we're just really loving, wonderful people. And look what we've done because we're just welcoming people in, but we're not really solving problems. How do we solve those problems?
Well, I love that question because in my new book, Agent Under Fire, I go through the second part of that and give real world solutions when it comes to the immigration problem and the cartels and border security. And I've been hearing this immigration reform statement for so many years under various presidential administrations, and nothing has been done about it. And not just the illegal portion of it, but the legal process. Right now, you have individuals that have waited in line, have paid their fees to
Mhm.
become green card holders, and all of a sudden they're put aside for all the illegals that are coming in right now, and that's not fair to them as well. And they're not getting the benefits that they deserve for doing it the right way and the legal way. We still have a legal system that I also do believe is broken and needs to be fixed from waiting an exorbitant amount of years to get a green card. Another issue is the overstays, the people that come here with visas. Somehow they think that because they came over in a visa that they're fine, but they've overstayed their visa. They're as undocumented as the person that waded the Rio Grande River. And so we have to deal with all these issues. And I address a lot of those in my book because it combines the border security issue with the violence that's happening in Mexico, and their conditions in those countries really dictate how we're going to move forward. And a lot of it won't happen until we secure our border, because we have to take care of our people that are here first. We have a lot of issues going on with COVID. We have a lot of issues going on with violence around our country, in Chicago, in California, in Maryland, St. Louis, high rates of crime. That a lot of those crimes are related and back to the cartels, and these gangs work for them, pushing their product. So I think we have a lot to address in our own country first, and then by allowing undocumented people just to come in, you will see the ripple effect in our communities, in our schools, our health system. I mean, you'll see the effect happening throughout our cities and our counties, and it's something that has to be addressed now because it's been ignored for many years.
Yeah, it's a problem that happens when we abandon logic. Our compassion turns to cruelty. We want to be so compassionate and do the compassionate thing, but we're not thinking things through. We're just doing things in such a feeling manner that we're not really helping, and so we're making the matter worse. Compassion to cruelty. Victor, your book, Agent Under Fire, you can really tell that you had a passion, even a love for this country, for our freedoms, and even for the people who crave what we have here. I see all of that come together in your book. I want to talk a little bit about that love that is interwoven through the pages.
Well, I thank you for that description. It's a great description, and I'm a very proud American. But just like you mentioned earlier, it doesn't mean that I ignore my Mexican heritage. I love my Mexican heritage, and my parents are both from there, and they came here the legal way. My parents worked hard to get myself and my sisters through school, and I'm a product of the American dream, and I'm all for that. I'm very pro legal immigration. It's just the illegal part of it is I know I dealt a lot with the criminal part of the illegal immigration, which affects a lot of people and a lot of victims in this country from illegal aliens. That really is horrific to see. But I tried to put that in my book where there has to be a balance, and there has to be able to. I love what you're saying is that communication between both sides, because we've lost that ability. Either you're far one side or far the other,
Yeah.
and we need to come together and have that discussions to be able to resolve a lot of these issues that are, frankly, I think, are in dire need of attention.
Well, your book not only interwoven with a lot of love for this country and full of hope, but also logic and reason, which is what we've been talking about this whole week. If we could apply a little logic, a little reason, we get to a better story. We get to a story of hope. And I want to thank you for sharing your hope with us, for writing the book. We have links everywhere, that pretty much everywhere you're listening. agentunderfirebook.com is where you can find Victor Avila's book. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to maybe having you on again. Please.
I would love to be back, and thank you so much for the opportunity to have me today. Thank you.